Hey guys, my name is Haley and today I'm going to be filming a wrap up for, I think it's Cramathon, I don't know, it's been a really long time since I've done a wrap up and I have like 30 some books to wrap up, so you're gonna be getting a lot of wrap ups in the next like week or two. So the first book I have to talk about is actually a DNF, and that is Bird Box by Josh Malerman. If you know me, you know that I was very excited to read this book and I just hated it. I think I DNF'd it at 50% and I listened to it on audio. The audiobook was very good. I really liked the narrator, but the book itself was just... I've discovered that one of my pet peeves is having child abuse or just like people treating children really, really horribly, because I work with children. Like, I'm a nanny and I also work with the kids at my church like on a weekly basis, and I couldn't do the way the children were treated in this, and the ideas that the mom had about what she could do to protect them, which were really just very abusive. And yeah, I didn't think the apocalypse was a good enough reason for those to be rationalized. So yeah, I DNF'd this. And I didn't like any of the characters, and I made Kate tell me the ending. So 1 star. The next book I read right before Cramathon was Storm Dancer by Jay Kristoff. This was, it was good. I liked it. It's by far not my favorite Jay Kristoff because I love the Nevernight and Illuminae series. This, you can tell it was like his first book. It's very descriptive and very flowery compared to his other novels, which I did hear was going to be the case, but I gave it a 3.5 stars. I really liked the relationship between the main character and this like creature that gets introduced, which I'm not going to spoil. Their relationship was really, really, really interesting, so I'm excited to read the rest of the series, and I do own the other 2 books, but there was a weird case of me being very confused about the 2 males in this story. Like, I literally thought they were the same person until like 75% into the book, which has never happened to me before, so I don't know if they just weren't described well enough or if I just was not paying attention when I read this, but that was weird, so I gave this a 3.5 stars. And now we're getting into the Cramathon wrap-up. The first book I finished for Cramathon was A Swiftly Tilting Planet by Madeleine L'Engle. This is where I stopped reading the series back when I read Madeleine L'Engle in like middle school, when I read Wrinkle in Time and A Wind in the Door. And I never finished this, and going back and reading it now, I know why. It has a very different feel from the first 2 books. It's like Meg's an adult. And I think Charles Wallace was like a big part of this, but he's even older, and it was just a weird situation. I liked the concept, I didn't love the execution, so I think I gave this one a 3.5 stars. The rest of the series is not living up to my love for the first 2, so that's upsetting. The next one I finished, which was a book that I almost unhauled, was Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. This was such a big surprise for me. Like I said, I was gonna unhaul it, and it just, if you've seen the movie Moulin Rouge and you like circuses, it's like the best of both worlds of those 2 things smashed together with a really like tragic love story in it. And as you can see, I tabbed a lot of things in like the sentences because I really liked the writing. This was so good. I think I gave it like a 4.25 stars. It was really, really good and I was very impressed. I really liked the way that this focused on like the veterinary side of like circus animals, which I've never seen done before, and it was really interesting to read about. But like, this love story was just so tragic. And fun fact about me, I really like tragic love stories and like contemporary novels. Like, Moulin Rouge is my favorite movie of all time, and if you've seen that movie, it's very depressing, but it's also a very good movie. But yes, I very much enjoyed this. I will probably be picking up other books by Sarah Gruen at some point if I am ever in the mood for a contemporary. Next up, I read Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. So this is my first of Francine Rivers' books that I've read. I know Oshina really loves her books, and I know this has the potential to be an author that I really enjoy, but this story was so frustrating to read. And it's not the fault of the book because it's based on the book of Hosea in the Bible, which is very realistic but also frustrating because the girl just like doesn't believe in her worth. And it's a redemption story that anyone can be loved, and you're not your past, you're not your mistakes, which I did really like. But I ended up giving this 4 stars because this like verged on like a little too much sexual tension for my taste as far as Christian fiction goes. I thought that it was a little too descriptive, which makes sense. Like, I know Francine Rivers was a romance author before she became a Christian, so I understand why, but it also was not really my taste. So I ended up giving this 4 instead of 5, which I thought it was going to be a 5-star read. But I'm definitely going to pick up other books by Francine Rivers because I liked the writing. Like, it's very spaced out. Like, this book does not need to be this big because the font is huge, but I enjoyed it. I really liked Michael Hosea. I liked the family aspects of this. There was a side romance that I really didn't like, but other than that, I've pretty much enjoyed most of it. So it was a solid 4-star read. The next thing I read was the Dear Evan Hansen libretto, which, I love this musical. I love the music. I love the people that worked on it. I love the original cast. I love Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. Like, I love everything about this show. I didn't think I was gonna be that surprised with the libretto because a lot of it's sung through. Like, there are scenes that are just dialogue, but reading some of these dialogue scenes just made me love the show even more because some of them are really, really heart-wrenching and just sad. Like, there's a point towards the end of the show that just like shows how the internet can be so toxic at times, just in the way things blow up on the internet. And I love this show. This was a standout 5 out of 5 stars. If you've never listened to the soundtrack, please go listen to it. And what I did was listen to the soundtrack while going through the libretto. So anytime a song came up, I would stop and listen to it and read along with the lyrics. And I highly recommend doing that. And then the last book I read for Cramathon was Lord of the Flies by William Golding. This is a book that I've tried to read at least twice before. I never had to read it for school. I think my brother did, and that's why it was just like in my house. The beginning of this is very slow, in my opinion. It took me a while to get into it, but once I did, I really enjoyed the ideas and like the themes behind it, of these kids being deserted on an island, and they're all like young boys and they have to figure out how to survive because they're probably not gonna get rescued. And it feels very like Hunger Games-y, but I don't know what else you could expect from this type of story. I did enjoy it. Like, it's one of those classics I'll probably keep on my shelf because it was good, but I didn't love it. I gave it a 3.5 stars because the ending was really good. I don't really have a ton to say on this, other than that I finally finished it because it's been on my TBR for literally forever. Like, I know this is a book I would really enjoy to, like, actually study in school, so I'm kind of sad that I never had to study it in, like, a classroom setting. Now we're on to the last 4 books before Tome Topple started. So, first of those being City of Saints and Thieves by Natalie C. Anderson. I listened to this on audio, and I will say the audiobook is really, really good. It's got, like, the Southern African accent with the narrator, and it was really, really atmospheric to listen to just because she like puts you in that mindset of where they are in the world. But there's also like really contemporary things in here, like texting and the internet and that type of thing. This was fun. I think it was an interesting like mystery, but it's very like typical YA, but I like that it was in a different setting than like the US. So I did enjoy it for what it was, and I think I gave it a 3.5 stars as well. But just beware that it is very typical YA contemporary, but with a little bit of mystery. Next up, I read The Summer That Melted Everything by Tiffany McDaniel. This is a book that I got for my birthday that I've wanted for forever because, one, I really like the cover. It's a really pretty cover in my opinion, even though it's like kind of simple. Literally the only thing I knew about this going into it was the tagline that's like, the devil came to a small town in Ohio. And I was like, what do you mean the devil came to a small town in Ohio? But This has almost like a magical realism feel to it. Like, I don't know if it's technically magical realism or if it's like literally supposed to be the devil. I'm not sure. And I think that's the point of the book. You're not really supposed to be sure. But it's very atmospheric for like summertime, it being incredibly hot, which was very relatable because it's been very hot here this summer in Ohio. So, and there were like certain things about this, about small towns in Ohio, that I could totally relate to because I've lived in Ohio my whole life. There is, I'm gonna preface this by saying there is like a cult aspect to this, which I was not expecting. And I normally really don't like when cults are introduced in books. Even though I find them interesting, they tend to get on my nerves because a lot of the time they're like supposedly based in Christianity, and Christianity and cults being in the same realm really bothers me. I didn't find this super annoying. There were definitely points in here where it's like, it's very racist. It's very like, ooh, that's problematic, but it's like not the author being problematic. It's more like her showing small town mindsets, which I found to be well done. Like, I didn't think it was super bothersome. I have a ton of quotes tabbed in there. I really liked the main character's family in this. They were really interesting. Like, his mom was like a recluse and wouldn't go outside, and it was for like a very bizarre reason. Like, you can tell she probably had some sort of mental issue, which was really interesting. There is also a gay character in here that the way that was handled was just absolutely heartbreaking. Like, it definitely brought this up like a half star for me because I really liked his character and the way it was handled, even though it was so depressing and tragic. But this is a book that like has stuck with me. Like, I read this a while ago now, and like the farther away from it I am, the more I realize how much I enjoyed it, even though I only gave it a 4 stars. So take that with a grain of salt, but I really liked this, and I would love to read something else by Tiffany McDaniel. Next up was another huge surprise, because if you know me, you know I did not like Night Film. I am actually going to try Night Film again later this year because Kate wants to try and buddy read it for like spooky month in October, and I've tried reading that book like 2 or 3 times and have never been able to get past the first 100 pages. So when Marisha Pessl came out with a YA like contemporary thriller, I was like, probably not gonna read that. And then Kate read it and said it was really, really interesting and really good, and I was like, number one, Kate doesn't like contemporary books. Number two, I don't know if it was Marisha Pessl's writing that I hated in Night Film because it was too descriptive, but this was so well done. I listened to it on audio with the intention of like taking a couple days to listen to it. I finished it in like a day and a half just listening to it on audio at 2 times speed because I had to know what was gonna happen. Like, this is so fast paced, the mystery is so interesting, the Neverworld wakes themselves are just mind-blowing. Like, I've never seen the Groundhog Day trope used in this way before, where like it could essentially go on into infinity, which I thought was really fascinating. And the ending was crazy, and there was a plot twist, and it was fantastic. I gave this a 4.5 stars, and this is a YA contemporary and a thriller, and I don't like most of those things most of the time. So that definitely shows, in my opinion, how well done this was. And then the last book I finished before Tome Topple was Humans of New York Stories by Brandon Stanton. This is like an Instagram and like an online thing of this guy that goes around and takes pictures of people in New York. I believe it's just in New York City, and it's just a big book of photographs, and some of them have like little lines, some of them will have like a couple paragraphs of something that the person said to the photographer, and they're like just little snippets of people's lives, and it was so interesting to read. Like, I'm fascinated by people, so this is like, if you're a people person or if you find people really interesting, definitely pick this up. 5 out of 5 stars for me, and I've also wanted to read this for forever. So these are all the books that I read in like I want to say the beginning of July is what I'm going to call it because I don't really remember. So many readathons have happened. But thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.